Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I am your host, Lois Herman, here to inspire you with messages from people who are making a difference in our world. And today I'm delighted to have a gentleman that I've met that we actually share the same year of birth. So we're the year of the horse, right? Aaron Singleton is a gifted medical intuitive, a healer, visionary, educator, and pioneer in the science of energy based healing with number, shapes, and intention. And since 1993, has facilitated thousands of healing sessions on people both in person and remotely across the United States and continues to create new healing tools and modalities. And I would love to hear his story of how did he get involved in all this crazy kind of stuff that he does. Has that always been your passion, Aaron?
Well, not always.
Okay.
I kind of stepped into it in 1993,
Mhm.
and kind of funny story because I was a welder for 12 years and decided it was time to change careers. So I went to massage school,
Mhm.
and I went to the Harold J. Riley School of Massage in Virginia Beach. It's on the grounds of the Edgar Cayce Center.
I'm familiar with it. Yes.
So during that time, my intuition started to develop. I would be outside of the room getting ready to do a massage session, and I would just intuitively know what part of the body I was to work on, even though it wasn't on the information that I had, from the paperwork. And things just started to grow from there, a little bit here, a little bit there. I was in the beginning phases, and really, not connected. I didn't feel energy at the time. I didn't really have a clear way of tapping into my intuition. It was just kind of random. But as we know, we start out random, and before you know it, it's right on top of us. And that's what mine did, landed right on top of me eventually. And not that I ever tried to deny it, but I had to wait and allow it to manifest.
And I'm admiring your environment there. You're a fellow New Englander, and yet that I feel as if I'm transported across the world in your room. Can you tell us about your room and how that came to be?
Well, I have a 1781 old colonial home.
Mm.
And my wife and I, at the time that we purchased this, decided to have theme rooms. So this is the Egyptian room.
Beautiful.
So the papyrus is on the wall, the statues on the mantle, and the bookcases, they're built-in bookcases. Um, all are Egyptian in nature, Egyptian gods and goddesses. The the rug on the floor, the chairs, if you see the kind of leopard skin, everything in this room is part of the Egyptian theme.
And so, why Egypt? What is the draw to Egypt for you?
Well, like many people, you have a fascination with some part of the world that you'd like to visit at some time, put on your bucket list, so to speak. And my fascination started as a child and never really thought much of it beyond that. And then finally, I had the opportunity to go to Egypt in 1998. And with that trip came, oh, many downloads of information. My first downloads were in 1999 because the Egypt trip was November of 98. And in the February, March of 99, I would have dreams that would wake me up at 3:30 in the morning, and I would have to get a pen or pencil and start drawing and writing. And I created a net neutral ion generator from that, which charges a lot of my products. Also from that trip, the knowledge of how to blend essential oils for healing. And and then the downloads continued. And as a result of that first trip, I've gone back three more times. So back to Egypt in '06 from that trip. There was a lot more information that came in this time about Egyptian hand positions. So when we see papyruses, things in books, and we might see a hand up here on the chest. There might be a hand that's floating over a thigh. I actually documented about 35 different hand positions for healing and meditation. That is right there in plain sight. I returned to Egypt in '08 and also in '09. And then in the '09 trip, I returned from that and got all the downloads about working with numbers and shapes, which led to biomorphic geometry, that we can actually put numbers and shapes in your energy field. Your DNA can read it, and your body will respond, whether it is for healing or meditation, all determined by the numbers and shapes themselves.
Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I myself have been to Egypt only once when I was quite young in the 70s, and I was fascinated by it. And I sat at the foot of the pyramids and watched the Beledi and rode a camel and all the touristy things. It was on a Mediterranean cruise that I took because I was living in Europe at the time. I would love to go back now, knowing what I now know more about the metaphysical world with a group of people who are more tuned in to the energy of the Egyptian healing modalities, as I have my own vague memories of being involved as a priestess or something in the Egyptian hierarchy.
Yes, and that is why I am going back again this year,
Yeah.
uh, leading a trip in December, the December 4th through the 19th. And I'm hoping to expand people's consciousness on that trip, introduce them to many of the exciting healing methods and modalities that I have learned, help everyone bring their own energy and information back and manifest for themselves.
Beautiful. Yeah, that would be fabulous. And did I not remember that you said that you're actually going to be able to take people into some of the chambers in the pyramids that are technically off limits to other tourist types?
Well, you have to have permits
I
that
see.
you purchase in advance to go down actually around the Sphinx and between the paws.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're kind of like up above on a walkway looking down.
Sure.
And so the permits have already been purchased.
Yes.
The permits for actually going inside the Great Pyramid and being in the Queen's Chamber, King's Chamber, those have been purchased. Um, we have a 5 day, 5 night, 4 day uh, boat ride on the Nile from Luxor to Aswan. The boat has already been reserved. It's a 26 passenger sailboat. We have our own chef. So things that need to be done way in advance are being done by Ruth Schilling, who runs a tour company to Egypt. And that is the only tours that she runs. And she has run 70 tours so far. So she knows the ins and outs and can get us into places that sometimes you don't get to see.
Sure, sure. Wow. So do you have any places, spots still available in your tour?
We've got about a half dozen spots that are still open.
Mhm.
So we'd like to fill them.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're hoping that someone listening will join us, because if you really are open to the metaphysical aspect and not just looking for a photo shoot, this
Correct.
would be the trip to go on.
Right. Yeah, I don't have a desire to travel. I've done extensive travel myself all over the world. I don't really have a desire to travel for tourism as much as the energy experience of travel in this day and age. I'm happy to be in my home. So, but this is fascinating to me. And I had spoken about it. I'm just going to have to manifest a little bit to see if that's where myself and possibly my team might join you. It sounds enchanting and fascinating on so many levels of healing right now. This world needs the different types of healing modalities that you have brought forward. And can you tell us more about the biomorphic geometry or some of the other healing modalities that you have been downloaded and that you're really embracing?
Oh, sure. The the rings of Odin were some of the first things that came to me after the '98 trip, and they are 3, 6, and 9-inch diameter brass rings that have been charged with energy from the net neutral ion generator that I created. So the generator draws the positive and negative ions out of the air, turns them into one molecule with the both positive and negative charge. This is basically unheard of, but it embeds that frequency into the rings. And then when you lay the rings down on the floor in different patterns, kind of looks like cell biology, it looks like geometry. And when you sit over this formation, there's a vortex of energy created that goes up through the body and creates the healing or enhances the meditation. So, over the years, I have created over 450 different designs that you actually sit over and create that experience. Some of these designs, when they're put together, they will have a radius, an energy radius of 200 or 300 feet, some of them 2 or 3 miles just by putting them together. A quick funny story was I had one set up here in the house, and it was the frequency of the being in the sarcophagus in the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid. Not thinking anything about it, we went to bed that night. Well, around midnight or one, my wife was waking me up and saying, "You left that thing together downstairs? I can't sleep a wink." So, by its design, it started out at about 2 miles. After it was set up and radiating and building energy, it was out over 20 miles by the time I came down and took it apart.
Hmm.
So, I'm not sure if my neighbors got much sleep either.
So there's no way of turning it off. You had to take it apart, take the rings apart. Is that what it is?
Yeah, so you have to take it apart.
Hmm.
So the rings are one of the most powerful and versatile tools that I've created.
Mhm.
And you can hold a ring up between you and the sun, and it amplifies the energy of the sun coming into the body. You can actually talk to the rings. You can, let's say you're holding it between you and the sun, and you ask the ring to bring you the frequencies from the sun that you need for healing for your sore shoulder.
Mm.
And you will feel the frequency change and the energy go to the shoulder. And then if you ask the ring to bring you the frequency you need to detox your liver, you will feel the frequency change and it will shift in your body to the liver. So with the energy put into the rings, it brought them to life, so to speak. It gave them a life force. It gave them consciousness that you can actually talk to them. Sometimes I will demonstrate just turning a ring on and turning a ring off for people, have them put their hand in it, feel the energy, and I will ask the ring to turn off. They'll put their hand back in it in the middle of the ring and feel absolutely nothing.
Mm.
And then I will turn it on with their hand in there, and they will feel this warmth around their hand or wrist as the the ring is waking up, so to speak.
Sure, sure. Wow. So have you done much work with restoring original DNA and RNA and patterns?
Oh, yes, I have formations for all of that. So at the time, I was creating formations for healing cancer on all different levels, Lyme disease, things of that nature. A lot of formations actually to bring in the frequency of sacred sites. So bringing in the frequency of the temples in South America, Machu Picchu, all the different places, bringing in many of the Atlantean and the Lemurian frequencies, and again, some of these were meant to sit over, and some of them were meant to radiate out, fill the room so that everyone could share the experience.
Mhm. Yeah, it's that's powerful, powerful work that you have discovered? What would be the you tapped into, remembered? What how would you describe it?
Well, at the time, I was thinking of it as, tapping into it and just the downloads. And I have since then come to realize that I am remembering.
Mhm. That's
Uh, because of my lifetimes in Egypt and Atlantis, Lemuria, and other places, I have had these experiences. We had tools similar to this at other times. The materials used, the frequencies that were used are different. So we create something for our time.
Mhm.
And that's what the rings are. They're created for our time. The only other metal that will hold this frequency is gold. So obviously I couldn't make the rings out of gold. It'd be a little out of my price range.
What are you using, copper? What is the
Uh, Actually, brass.
brass? Okay. All right. Wow.
So with brass, you have tin and iron and several different metals that
Right.
actually go together to make the brass. So that allows um, for a wider variety of elements to hold the frequency.
Sure. Conductivity. Wow. Yeah, I might have known you in some of those incarnations. So yeah, I have memory of being in many places many times, and always as a healer of some sort, priestess. Although I have one fun story of Egypt that I was told I don't necessarily have a memory, so I'm always cautious if someone tells me something versus me experiencing the memory myself. But I was told by someone that I kept the Pharaoh entertained while Moses and his beloved escaped. That the Pharaoh was actually after his beloved. He really could care less about Moses. So I don't know whether that's true or not, but it's fun to imagine what we were and went through because many of these lifetimes were um, very amazingly spiritual and yet very traumatic for the devastation that happened in those lifetimes.
Yes, and one of the things that I have learned is how to, let's say, activate those memories in people.
Ah,
So to be able to put the frequencies into your consciousness that you actually remember certain aspects that are important to you. So that's one of the things that I'm going to be doing on this trip is activating those memories. With the activation codes that I now create, I can take any room, the room that you're in, the room that I am in here, and put the frequency of the king's chamber in that room.
wow. Wow.
So even as we're talking right now, if I send the energy of the king's chamber, you will feel just like you're in that space.
That's amazing. You know, it's interesting. My team and I, we're always learning, always growing. I work as a team for energy clearing, as you well know, and we encounter a lot of different sorcery and different nefarious energies. And we've been given codes. Been given download codes that we're using as well that are able to temper and block some of this the sorcery that is pervading our society right now. But it is fascinating how these codes work and how the energy works. It's very real. A lot of people say, "Well, how can that be?" And my philosophy is typically, "Well, you can't see electricity, but you're not going to stick a fork in that socket, are you?"
Yes, just last night, Claudia and I were teaching a class on healing with numbers
Okay.
and explaining how powerful numbers are. And
Mm.
we were using just single digits, so a one, a five, whatever. And when you put the number on your body or in your energy field, you can create phenomenal healing.
Mm.
And it's very specific because geometrically, the numbers need to be a certain size. The thickness of the line needs to be a certain thickness to be ideal. Um, exactly where it's placed in your energy field. And you don't need a really complicated system. So just the numbers 0 through 9
Mhm.
can do a phenomenal amount of healing. If we then put those together in a 4 or 6 digit format and say them out loud, we can activate a crystal. So, for instance, a garnet. If you're holding a garnet and an activation code that will come to life, so to speak, in your hand, you can now talk to that garnet and it will give you its whole history and it can tell you everything that it can do for your body.
That's amazing.
And,
That is, yeah. And that's what we feel like, I say we, my team and I feel like our role is to clear the energy of the light workers so that they can step into their power, so that they can learn from you how to best use their power, their gifts, their skills, their intuitive awareness. Many of them are blocked or depleted or disenfranchised. And the work that my team and I do is to clear the blocks so that they can step into their power. And it seems as if what you're sharing and teaching is helping them to actualize their power.
yes, to actualize it because they have tools that they can use on a daily basis or as needed
Mhm.
to do these things. The biomorphic geometry aspects of things is these are cards that you can lay on the body or that you can put in the energy field
Mhm.
and facilitate the healing in the body. Again, they are geometrically perfect. And so if we take a design, let's say that is a 6 inch square, well, if you shrink it down a half an inch or if you enlarge it a half an inch, it no longer works. Geometrically, it must be 6 inches. And then every number and shape within that design has a specific size, shape, even the numbers themselves. When we make a number, let's say a 3, the 3 needs to be really open. If we kind of curl the top of the 3 in,
Right?
then then we trap the frequency, we trap the energy.
Sure.
So we open the 3 up. Okay. And this, of course, would be for any number like a 2, a 3, a
Mm.
5, a 4 that we would normally have just well, kind of like this, if you can see that,
Yes. Yeah.
versus closing the 4 in at the
Right.
top and making it triangular.
Yeah.
The triangle at the top closes off the energy.
Hmm. Very
So,
interesting. So are these are numerals that we are using that are based on ancient hieroglyphics, or where did these shapes that we're using come from? They're not Roman numerals, but where do you envision that these shapes that we use as our current numbering system, historically, where do they come from?
well, again, it's what we need for our time. So
Yes.
if we go back to the Greek or the Roman, or even if we're looking at, something older, if we go back to the symbols and shapes that the Egyptians used, they were for their time.
Correct.
Okay. There is a fascinating gentleman by the name of Mateos de Stefano that is remembering his past lives all the way back in Atlantis
Mm.
and things of that nature. And, he kind of confirms for some of us that not only are we on the right path,
Right.
but that what was being done then is still being done now, but it's being in a different way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Fascinating. Wow. And you also you work with individuals, and you're also doing some more group or global type of energy work as well. Is that correct?
Yes, because, well, I'd say over time, but all the way back in, I would say 1994, because I started in 93, but in 94, I was already doing small groups.
Mm.
So to be able to project the energy of life healing process, which came to me in 94,
Mm.
uh, that started me right there, being able to do groups of 10, 15 people. And since then, it has continued to improve and grow. And So now I can work on hundreds of people simultaneously. And of course, Zoom has really helped out with that
Yeah,
so that I can have multiple people in multiple places. But, if I have a room of 300, 400 people, um, literally everyone's spine will be adjusted. Everyone's emotions can be released. Whatever it is for healing, whether it's organs or glands, it can all be done simultaneously. And that's one of the fascinating things when working with energy. And that is really what I want to teach because so many people need help and the one-on-one is limiting.
it is. That was one of the blessings for me of the COVID situation is I had a 3-room office suite in Nashua, New Hampshire at the time, was booked out by weeks, but I was not going to do hypnosis or that type of work with a muzzle on. And so I shut my office down and moved home, which gave me the opportunity of being able to help people around the world. It changed my whole practice. And a lot of people say, oh, well, you can't do this kind of work via the internet or via Zoom. Absolutely, you can. And we can even do it. I'm a Reiki master teacher using symbols, that sort of thing. We can do it just through the ether. I personally like to have eyes on people when I'm working with them one on one in order to see their emotional, just watching their facial expressions and seeing how they're responding and reacting to the work I'm doing or that we're doing. But we often will do groups as well and help with facilitate clearing for bigger audiences and bigger structures, buildings, land, that kind of thing, wherever we're called to be, whatever we're called to do, and we're constantly learning.
That's it. It's when we say we have learned it all, we're in trouble.
That strikes me as ego. Keeping it humble and simple is one of the secrets that I have that's been shared with me as far as the more we stay in that open receptive state, the more information is allowed to come through because we're not because our intention is to use it for the highest and best of others.
Yes, it is. So I'd like to share something with everyone right now, if I can.
Absolutely.
Just in the last few weeks, my friend Claudia and I were working with the sun, and she's an excellent channel. So she was channeling the sun because the sun has consciousness.
Yeah.
And one of the things that the sun told us was that it could heal, I'd say 98% of our illnesses and conditions. And this is not about going out and sitting in the sun and baking. This is about learning how to internalize the frequency of the sun,
Mm.
bring it into your body. Uh, so I'd like to share that with you. And of course, this will then radiate out to all of those listeners and watchers. So I'm going to send the frequency of the sun right now. And then if you would, please let me know when you start to feel that enter your body.
I'm actually feeling it at my solar plexus, which I think would be appropriate.
So it will come in to the crown, come into the solar plexus, wherever it's needed, but it will expand throughout the body.
Mm.
Now, with the sun internalized, the frequency internalized, it can kill every bacteria and virus and fungus that is in our bodies. The sun told us that it can kill cancers. Now, when we think about sun worship, as I said, it's not about laying out in the sun.
Right.
It is about learning what we knew in the past
Hmm.
about how to work with the sun, bringing it into body in the way that I am doing right now with you and the listeners. So as we sit with it and it expands, sometimes it will actually turn cool because I always say that, we receive all of the known as well as the unknown frequencies of the sun. And some of those unknown frequencies, we exactly that. We don't have a clue as far as what they do, how to utilize them. But if we just allow the sun to come in, it will do what it needs to do based on our body's needs.
Mhm.
Now, this is true sun worship, that we worship the sun because we utilize the sun for healing in our bodies in this way. So, this is what the sun told us, and this was just in the last couple of weeks.
Mm.
So, we continue to learn, as we were just saying, day by day, we wake up with that concept of what does the sun have for me to learn today? What does spirit have for me to learn today?
Absolutely. One of my team is really into sun gazing, where she will sit out, and I do it myself on occasion, not as regularly as she does, but she will sit at sunrise when the sun is low in the sky and look with soft eyes, typically through filtered trees, at the sun and allowing it to come into us, through the visual, through the eyes, and letting it just kind of bathe ourselves with that early morning sun that's not so hot in the high in the sky. It's pretty amazing, because when you think about it, when you and I were young, we didn't have sunscreen, and most people didn't wear sunglasses, when we were very young. And we didn't, I was always a, redheaded, freckle-faced, blister burn, peel and freckle kind of gal, but that's because I would be out in it way too much. Knowing now about, and the other thing that I have learned is to wear more of the natural clothing, the linens that they would have worn in the ancient days, cotton, linen, wool, those sorts of things. The natural fibers, I wear those now when I'm doing my colonial work, and I don't burn. It is amazing how my body regulates to the energy of the sun using natural fibers. I believe it's the synthetics that create a mismatch, if you will, with the human body and the sun that comes through. What are your thoughts about that?
Yes, I agree. There is a change in the frequency of the sun as it goes through the synthetic materials.
Hmm. Hmm. Because they say that used to be hospital linen and bed linen, most of that was made of linen. Bed sheets were made of linen, and people didn't have bed sores. People healed faster. Again, using the more natural fibers, and then also being out in the sun and allowing the sun to give us the nutrients and the energy that we need to sustain health and vitality.
Yes, there were schools of thought in the 1800s about using the sun for healing, and it worked very effectively. And if we think about now, people that are in some type of hospital situation or rehab, you very seldom get outside of that building to actually get into the sun to receive that type of healing.
And yet there is also, they're calling it the red light therapy, the different types of light therapies that are supposed to be very healing for us. But to that end, it's like I have a prism that I'm dodging I've got rainbow on me from a prism that is in my windowsill. And the red light therapy would be like taking just one component. There's this prism that's coming through. It's a whole rainbow of colors and frequencies that come through with the natural sunlight. And if you're using these others that are just taking one bandwidth of frequency, you're not going to get the entire benefit. Is a thought anyway.
Well, I mean, with science, we like to separate things. So we separate out the far and the near infrared, and we figure out ways to use those frequencies. But if we are using the full spectrum, as you just mentioned, we can actually accomplish more.
Mhm.
Years ago, I want to say in the late 90s, or early 2000s, somewhere along in there, I built my own first light box using using stained glass as the color medium.
Mm.
And putting a full spectrum light bulb in the back and putting some mirrors in there to reflect back and forth to intensify the frequency, the photon effect. And it is a very, very powerful tool. So I have I think they're about 5 by 7 inch plates of glass that I would put in front, and you can sit in front of that and absorb the frequencies. And then I created one pane, had someone create this for me, I should say, with all 7 colors, and it is the 7 rays. Now, in the 1940s, there was a device called the 7 rays healing device, and it was used in clinics all over the United States until it was banned. And it sent the 7 rays through your body. There was a monitoring device on the back that looked for imbalances of those frequencies after they passed through the body. It would then generate proper frequencies to create balance in those. And there were people being healed from that. So they were never, let's say, touted as a healing device, but that was one of the effects. So as a result of that, they were banned and pulled out of the clinics around the country.
Because it wasn't following the medical model per se,
Exactly.
unfortunately. Well, I'm hoping that we're steering away from that, there have been so many people that have come forward with the damage that's been done by our pharmaceutical industry and by way of mimicking nature. But again, like you're saying, you take a vitamin C pill, it's not necessarily the same as eating an apple or something that has all of the whole spectrum of nutrients in it. So it's just, we're learning, and people are coming to the awareness of what is important to be able to facilitate healing for the body on mind, body, emotion, and spirit.
Going back to the basics.
Absolutely.
Eat what comes from the earth. So even now, with a lot of our products being grown in hothouses and hydroponically and everything, we do not get the same nutritional value as if it was grown in the soil and out in direct sunlight. So even that, buying things local, like right now, is a great time in New England for getting things from the farm stand.
I
Uh,
was there this morning. I get my raw milk from a dairy farmer that also has, he's got his chickens and his cows and all of the vegetables that are grown right there. And it's nice because I shop there typically once a week, and I get enough that I need for the week. I don't have to buy in bulk, and I don't have to try and grow it myself. I've tried that. I'm better at flowers. I would rather support his amazing efforts. It's a family, it's a whole family, and it's wonderful. So yes, we need to really support our local farmers and the people who are that have the knowledge, the knowing of how to grow the food. Many of us don't have that knowing. We have different gifts like you. Oh my goodness, you're quite the inventor of multiple different things.
I still not have invented anything to keep the woodchucks out of the garden. So
Well, you know what someone told me is bells, the sound frequency, the vibration of the sound of bells, wind chimes, strong wind chimes. They don't like the sound or the vibration that goes into the ground. So that can't hurt, might help.
yes,
That's a thought.
anything that would distract them so that they would not be as aware of a predator approaching.
Right.
Anything that disrupts their sense of hearing, sense of smell, those are things to try.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we have a woodchuck. He's off in the distance. He kind of leaves us alone. It's the bunnies that tend to want to eat my hostas and flower buds and all that. They're so cute, but they're like, leave my stuff alone. And I have learned the different products, simple products to use to keep them away, but or at least stall them. Yeah.
Now, a little bit ago, when I sent the energy of the sun, um, can you feel a difference in your body at this point?
I feel warmth. I feel warm. just a warm radiance through my solar plexus and into my heart chakra and up into just I definitely feel a warmth that's radiating through. Yes. Yeah.
Now, the energy of the sun will stay in your body for as long as you need it. So whether it is 20 minutes or 2 or 3 hours.
Now, can I then take this energy and share it with, like, say, my husband? Is that can we work with energy like that as energy facilitators? I was told we're not healers, we're facilitators. We facilitate the healing through us. It would is is that something that we, as we embrace this energy, are able to share it as well?
Well, I teach that with the energy of life healing process, which came to me in 94,
Yeah.
uh, which is all about drawing the energy in through your hands,
Mm,
taking your arms and into your crown, and then exhaling it down through the body and out your feet. And
okay.
then after that flow of energy is established, then you can pull in the energy of the sun, you can pull in electromagnetic energy, um, whatever you need, because you already have established a flow of energy and you're just adding something to it.
Right. And I would assume that if someone is already doing Reiki and they are comfortable with channeling energy and allowing the energy that this would be a natural addition to someone who is comfortable with transferring Reiki energy.
And on my YouTube site, there's some free classes on using the energy of life, how to activate it in the body, how to align all of your vertebrae, how to balance all your and align all of your chakras, how to talk to your organs and glands. So anyone can go on YouTube and actually learn without taking a formal class of any kind, learn how to use the energy of life process.
Wow. So what would preclude someone from learning it or using it?
Well, our emotional blocks may keep us from learning something because it's such a simple process. Um, Sometimes our belief systems will get in the way.
Mm,
I have found some people that have been practicing something for a number of years and they say, well, I've been doing it this way. And it's like, yes, but it would be helpful to have more than one modality under your belt and to learn a new process, new technique. But there's really nothing to stop anyone from learning the energy of life process. The energy of life came to me in spring of 94, and it was all about Egypt and what we had used, how we had used it back at that time.
mhm.
The um, the sun disk and the solar and the headdresses of the gods. You know, we have the disk at different places above,
Right.
above the head, and all of those disks radiate different frequencies. So the size of the disc, the placement in the headdress of the gods, and so that came to me in 94. I would literally put my hands in the position,
Mhm,
just like here.
mhm,
All right. So as I send the energy, where do you feel the energy connecting to you?
mhm. Mm. So you can direct it. You
I
can
can direct it. So it will be coming into your body. But
mhm,
then as I raise my hands,
mhm,
you feel it go to a different place in your body.
mm,
All right. And so every different placement. Now, during that time, I worked with the energy of Ra.
mhm,
Ra is a big solar disk behind the head.
mhm.
So even as I put my arms in this position, I would be radiating that frequency to people that would be receiving it. And we would all be sharing in the information that was coming through. Now, obviously, doing this for a period of time, your arms get rather heavy, but it worked.
Mm,
So I was able to bring that down to where I could pull it in through one hand, send it out through the other. And doing it in this way, um, this is how I can send it to you or anyone. Uh,
sure. With your intention, with focused intention.
Focus intention. But the way to receive it is to turn your palms up on your lap
Sure.
and allow the energy to come in. So if you do that now, I send the energy
Mhm.
and it comes into your hands. You might feel a little warmth or pressure,
Mhm.
uh, tingling or something. And you inhale, you draw it up your arms into your head, neck, and shoulders. Then you exhale it down through your body and out your feet. And you establish a flow going through the body. And as the energy washes over every cell, DNA, RNA, everything that's in there, this is where the healing happens. And
Beautiful.
we can, through intention, guide it to, again, the neck, the shoulder, the lungs, the heart, wherever we have something going on. And we can learn how to use the energy to, as I said, to adjust your own spine, release trauma and shock, and do all kinds of things, balance your chakras, and more.
Yeah, that's amazing. And the pyramids themselves are energy generators, are they not?
Yes, they are. And the thing is, as with most things from the past, when we look at them through the eyes of, let's say, an Egyptologist, we kind of get science in the way of things and technology. And so I have created like small pyramids out of cardboard. And not long ago, I did this. I have it on Zoom, I mean, YouTube, and put it out in the newsletter. So it was a little pyramid with a 3-inch base, but the sides were 6 inches. And you put that together, put it underneath your chair, and sit over it. Now, when the energy is coming up, it's crisscrossing, weaving its way up.
Sure. DNA,
And so it reminds you of the Kundalini energy, um,
DNA spiral. Yep.
the DNA spiral, and the pyramid made at that size actually helps open up your consciousness and takes you back to Egypt.
Hmm.
Okay, so it's a great little thing to sit over and just have your own Egyptian journey without leaving home.
Wait a second, that defeats your purpose of trying to get people into your class.
Well, hopefully they'll want to go so that they can learn even more.
Absolutely.
But, uh,
Yeah.
but yes, the exact size of the base and the sides of the pyramids that you create out of cardboard, believe it or not,
Hmm.
can be such powerful tools. You don't need to run out and spend a lot of money for a big copper pyramid to put in the backyard and things like that.
Hmm.
When you can do something out of cardboard, that will probably be just as good and in some cases better.
Hmm. Again, it's the shape that's driving the energy. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So the Great Pyramid and the pyramids at Giza have a wider base and bigger slope. But if you go down south, you go to Nubia, you have the Nubian pyramids, which have a smaller base and they're taller.
Hmm.
And then, of course, if you look at the pyramids in South America and all over there are thousands of pyramids
Right.
in different countries all over the world, and
Yes.
all different sizes when it comes to the base, when it comes to the height, and different frequencies from each one.
Hmm. It would be interesting to chronicleize what our world was like at different points in time and the lost history, because so much of our history has been told by the victors, and a lot of the true history has been lost.
Yes, it has. So that is one of the things we can all do is work on our memory.
Mhm. Hmm. Yeah. We just did some session work. I've been teaching hypnosis to my team, and one of my team went back to ancient Lemuria, and it was beautiful. One of the things that she saw was that the trees, she had like this a ball that had something in it that she could walk through the forest, and it just would illuminate. There was no electricity. There was just, she could charge this ball with light, and the trees would have illuminations in them. And it was just a beautiful way of living. And I have my own memory of Lemuria as well. But it was, and then there was a war, a battle, something external influence that came and shot energy beams that destroyed this beautiful idyllic land. So there's always this war of good and evil has been going on for a very, very long time.
Yes, it has.
Mm.
One of the things that I have, again, been thinking about working on in my mind, I work on things in my mind for weeks at a time before I even put it on paper sometimes.
Mm.
And one of the things is really fascinated me is how the inside of, let's say, the tombs in the Valley of the Kings, and the insides of the temples were actually carved and created and painted. And we're saying it couldn't have been done with fires and to light everything, because there was never any soot found on the ceilings.
Mhm.
And many of these spaces in the Valley of the Kings, are 30 foot, 40 foot high.
Right.
So you at least have to have some scaffolding, and you have to have a way of getting a light up there to see how to paint, draw.
Because this is inside with no windows.
It is totally underground.
Mhm.
Now, somewhere in South America, they found some stones that were glowing in a cave
Mm.
years. And so in my mind, it goes, well, why don't we activate, let's say, could be a ball of granite because of
Mhm.
all the piezoelectric energy that is in granite. And if we can get it to glow, we
Mm.
have a light source.
Mm.
Okay. So there has to be a way, and we just need to put our thinking caps on, or using
Remember.
using hypnosis, go back and remember, and bring that into present time, so that maybe we could just have those glowing balls of light whenever we need them.
Exactly. And they ended up my students were working and I had them take me on a journey and I ended up I was I've been told I was the last high priestess of Atlantis and I have my own memory of the crystal blowing up trying to get them to stop overloading the crystal. And I, at the time, was able to channel Re. They call the god Re from Atlantis versus Ra from Egypt. But he came through, and it was very interesting. What he said is the way to get our to reclaim the peace in this planet is to help humanity to raise their vibration all the way around. Because if we, as the human angelic humans or the light beings that we are, the star seeds, whatever we want to call ourselves, that if we can create critical mass among us to raise our vibration, these nefarious ones are not going to want to live here because that high vibration, sound, light, all of that is annoying to them. It's like, fingernails on a chalkboard. So the more we can come together and celebrate and work with one another to raise the vibration of each other and this beautiful planet, then we are working toward bringing that, ushering in this next era of divine grace, peace, beauty, joy, health, and vitality.
Yes. And I created divine blueprint cards to
Okay,
assist with that.
beautiful.
So the design on the card, let's say one of the cards, radiates the frequency of peace. So when you put that card, prop it up, and it's directing its energy at you, um, you feel the energy of peace. Now, what it shows you is where you were not at peace within yourself,
Mm.
which then gives you the ability to, focus your energy and breathing and let go of whatever your blocks are to peace. It would be the same with joy. There's a victimhood card that shows you where you're holding on to victimhood from your childhood. There's a card for from the heart of God to the heart of man, shows you where you're actually blocking your guidance from God. And these are things we don't think of, but there may be something in our subconscious from our childhood or sometime in our life that we need to clear out of the way so that we can be at that higher frequency.
Absolutely. And remembering one of the things, because I actually asked how the pyramids and how we were able to create these, and they said that the natural human had, with the fully equipped DNA, had the ability to work together with nature. It wasn't just human, it was at how to, like you're talking about, working with the sun and the crystals and all, and could actually mold and create and levitate and do a lot. The natural, the energy of the pure DNA. So we've got to get back to activating our beautiful, amazing bodies.
Yes, and one of the things I started working with a few years ago also was the elements themselves. So the earth, the fire, water, and air.
Right.
Um, it was always, you buy a little set of elements, and they come in a nice little box, and you put them on the shelf, and they collect a lot of dust. We had, but we had our box of elements,
Mhm,
and I sit with things like that, like I said, and it was like, well, there's got to be something else. There's got to be a way to utilize that energy.
mhm,
And I started playing around with it and created a set for healing with those.
mm.
So when you are using, let's say, the element of fire, and I actually had this happen at a little event up in New Hampshire back in April. There was a young woman that came to my table, and she was telling me she was on 5 inhalers because she had opened a bag of feed, and the mold from the feed went into her nose and into her lungs, and she was already on 1 inhaler for asthma. But then because of this, the doctor had her on 4 more inhalers. She'd been on those for 5 years.
Oh, no.
So I sent the element of fire into her lungs because I'm thinking fire. Well, I say thinking, my intuition is
Mhm,
that fire will burn out the mold. And
mhm.
sure enough, her body got hot, especially her lungs, her chest got really hot as she stood there. And then a little while it cooled down. She no longer needed those 4 inhalers.
Wow. Beautiful,
Okay.
beautiful.
Now, quite often I will do something with a group like clearing the sinuses, and I send the element of um, earth and water into the sinuses.
Mhm.
But to have earth and water, you create a mudslide.
That's right.
You
Oh,
just you just wash everything out with a little mudslide, and
right.
then you go back in with the element of air and you dry everything up, and everyone's sinuses are
Mm,
clear.
beautiful, beautiful.
So,
I'm
so, so,
I'm
so I
marveling at the stripes of light that are going across your body right now. You have beautiful stripes of light that are, you almost have like a Native American pattern going across your face, which is beautiful from some shades that you have off to the side somewhere.
I was hoping that the window is open here, and as the sun is moving, I'm like, I'm hoping that's not going to be a problem. Otherwise, I'll have to get up and close the blinds.
It's good. I've been watching it, as it evolves. I've got rainbows coming on me, and you've got these beautiful stripes of light that are illuminating you. So yeah,
But
we've got our work cut out for us, don't we? We're here to transform this planet and bring the light.
it is true, especially bringing the light and the sound and everything that we have used for thousands and thousands of years, bringing us back to who we really are.
That's right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. We're and in the midst of helping the people who are completely clueless just by blasting them with the light, that maybe there will be a beam that somehow helps them to lift their vibrational frequency.
I again, I say my mind sometimes I go off. I'm definitely out of the box in my thinking.
Mhm.
And on YouTube, I have my own little saying, hi, this is Aaron Singleton, out of the box. And so a few years ago, I came up with the idea of making coasters that you would set your alcohol on, and it would be able to change the texture, the taste, the flavor of the alcohol. And I had a couple of people say, well, you're a healer. Why would you want to do that? And you're supporting people's drinking. And I was like, well, there are some people that you cannot get to unless you show them
Mhm,
that you can change their alcohol.
mhm.
And they may start to listen because you're doing something that they don't believe is possible.
Right.
So when I was visiting a cousin out in Colorado, his wife felt energy and she was fine with everything. He couldn't feel a thing. So again, someone that is blocked. And I set his bourbon on the coaster for about 12 minutes. And you take a 10-year-old bourbon, 12-year-old bourbon, and it will taste like a 24, 26-year-old bourbon in about 12 minutes. So softer, sweeter, everything that you would expect from an expensive bottle.
Right.
So I created a coaster for improving the wine, brown liquors, and clear liquors, and then one for those that just would like to improve their water. So it hydrogenates your water
Sure.
just putting it on a coaster. You don't need an expensive machine.
Mhm, mhm.
And it's all done with geometry, biomorphic geometry. So
I love
again, numbers and the shapes, changing the frequency,
sacred geometry, yeah.
and this is enough to wake some people up.
However we can. Wow. Well, Aaron, I'm going to put the way to balance is your business, and I will put all of that in the description and how they can get a hold of you, and especially those that want to join you on this tour to Egypt. When is your deadline on that? When do people need to reach out to you about it?
Well, we would like to get everyone signed up and deposits and everything made by the 1st of October. We know that there will be some people that are going to be behind on that. That's okay for a few. Ruth Schilling, who runs the business, she is actually going to be in Egypt by the end of this month, and she leads back-to-back tours herself all the way through spring. So it's kind of inconvenient for her if she has to, add a lot of people at the last minute. So that's really the reason to get things moving and of course to secure all the permits and make sure that you have a uh, place to sleep on the boat. And there are only 2 flights from Luxor down to Aswan a day. Yes, from Luxor to Aswan. So, we have to get the plane reservation. Everything needs to be done in advance.
So,
Doesn't mean that someone couldn't sign up in mid-November, but that would cause her to jump through a few hoops, and we try to avoid that.
and again, it's December 4th through
And through the 19th.
19th. Okay.
Hmm.
Well, let's see if we've got people and, do you have the information about the pricing on your website and everything?
You could go directly to our website. It actually is a link to Ruth's website because she does this all the time. She's actually a retired music professor, so so she does channeling and toning and everything herself. So she's very spiritual. So and well, her first tour was in '98, and she just knew herself that she needed to lead tours, and she's been leading them ever since.
Wonderful. Oh,
But she's really good. Everything is up there, the whole itinerary, everything that we're going to be doing from day one through the end of the trip.
how
So,
many people will you ultimately have? What is your cutoff for people?
well, the boat holds 26.
Okay.
So that's some of that's it. Actually, in '06, we took 36 people. But this, because we're using a smaller boat,
Mhm.
we're limited unless people want to double up. So,
So it holds 26, and that has to count the tour guides and the people who are driving the boat and everything else. So,
well,
yeah.
not the people driving the boat, but
Oh,
26 berthing spaces.
gotcha. Okay.
So,
Wow. Sounds exciting. Sounds very exciting. So
yeah.
thank you for the work you're doing. We will stay in touch. And I know I have referred people to you that need your gifts, and we need each other. So thank you very much, Aaron, and the team that you lead.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, and I hope we can do it again.
Absolutely. We will stay in touch. And I like to always close with everyone, please look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day. Until next time.